Yo, what is going on, Knicks fans? Welcome back to Knicks Media. Karl-Anthony Towns is a Knick, okay? Last night was crazy across the NBA world, Knicks world. We've all had some time to process this trade, and I kind of want to break down why I believe the New York Knicks made this move, what the vision is for Leon Rose, and if Karl-Anthony Towns is going to fit with this Knicks team or not. I think that it's going to be a very interesting season now with the starting five on paper looking absolutely stacked on paper with Brunson, Hart, Anunoby, Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns. That's as good as it's going to get in the NBA. I'm excited to share my thoughts. Knicks fans, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know we made videos last night and everything, but I had to get your thoughts again today. We've had, we slept on the news. We've had all day to think about the news. So I'm curious if any of you guys have maybe feel a little more better about this move, because I've noticed Knicks fans are not happy. I have noticed Knicks fans across, everywhere is like upset with this trade. I'll tell you right now, I'm not upset with this trade. Now, I'll be honest, I've been telling you guys, I don't really want to trade Julius Randle. I've been pretty open about that all offseason, just from the perspective of, hey, we got him for one more year. We have a championship caliber roster. Let's just go all in. And this is still an all-in-win move, and it also sets this Knicks team up for sustainable success just because Karl-Anthony Towns is under contract for the next 4 seasons with the player option in the 4th year. So I think that what this does, of course, giving up Donte DiVincenzo is going to make Knicks fans upset. He was a great Knick last year. He's on a very affordable contract, on a bargain contract. Minnesota is going to love Donte, and of course Julius. But now you look about what the Knicks are getting in return. I mean, I think people are kind of forgetting who Karl-Anthony Towns is. That's just my opinion with this whole situation. I know that the mindset is, well, he doesn't step up in the playoffs, or he's soft, or he doesn't play defense. He's not going to fit this Knicks team. He's not going to fit the culture. But I don't know, man. If there's one thing I know about this Knicks culture is that when they come to the New York Knicks, they start buying into what this Knicks team is all about. And that is playing hard for Tom Thibodeau. That is buying into the system. We brought in a guy who knows how to play for Coach Thibodeau already. I mean, this is a star. I mean, let's just stop pretend that we traded away for a washed-up player. He is in the prime of his career. I guarantee you that as the time goes on, as the season begins and we start stacking up wins, Knicks fans are going to come around this trade, because I've learned that. Up until this point, I've watched Leon Rose make trade after trade after trade. I've watched Knicks fans react in negative light right when it happens, and then when we actually see the trade go onto the floor, then we all think to ourselves, oh, wait, this is actually a pretty good thing. So I think the Knicks front office, they wanted to build a core that they can actually have for the next 3+ seasons. Even though Karl-Anthony Towns' contract looks wild on paper, the Knicks apparently like the deal because it's locked up long-term, right? It's an ascending contract with a player option. I know it's like a boatload of money, but with the cap space eventually about to increase, it's not going to look that bad on our books. This also gives the Knicks flexibility with Jalen Brunson's contract being, saving $113 million in total. Think of it this way. This is how I look at this roster now. The Knicks have 2 elite wings, okay? 2 elite wings on defense in Anunoby and Bridges that can match up with Tatum and Brown in Boston. And now we have 2 elite offensive weapons in Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns mixed in with the dog of Josh Hart. Like, I love that starting five from that perspective. Like, I feel like Karl-Anthony Towns fits the modern-day NBA, and having an offensive weapon like this at the big man spot is completely buying in to the future of this team. And I know that people are really on the fence, but I'm kind of coming around on this. Every time I'm rewatching Karl-Anthony Towns, like you see the highlight reel right here. Shout out to Tag on X, IQ for 3, always giving us the elite highlights and clips on Twitter. But like, the more I realize who Karl-Anthony Towns is, I'm sick of people pretending this guy is like not a good basketball player. It's one thing if you think he's not going to fit. It's one thing if you feel like, breaking up the Nova boys, and I get all that. But we are getting a player that is actually a multi-time All-Star, a multi-time All-Pro. And can you imagine having Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns? I mean, how are you going to defend both of them, and having, Bridges and Anunoby who can both get a bucket themselves? Like, I think now the Knicks have a perfect balance of defense and offense, right? You can argue, that the Knicks were all in on defense with Anunoby, with Bridges, Mitchell Robinson, Randle is okay on defense. But now we have a perfect balance of both. I mean, you talk about Karl-Anthony Towns, who puts up, like, what, 41.5% from three-point land last year, who could put up 21, 22 points per game, over 8 rebounds, and now we have an MVP player like Jalen Brunson. Like, guys, I was shocked, just like everybody else last night. But the more I look at this trade, the more I look at the Knicks on paper, the more I'm coming around and be like, wait, Leon Rose may have cooked here. Leon Rose may have cooked here. And we've talked about Karl-Anthony Towns a lot on this channel all summer long. I just didn't expect it to come at this point. So I feel like when you look at this roster, people need to realize, now we all know that nobody is safe. Nobody is safe on this Knicks team. I feel like anybody is tradable after they just traded Dante and Julius Randle. But Karl-Anthony Towns, I'm just like looking at his highlight reel. I mean, we all know who he is as a player. We don't need to look at his highlights to get a good idea of who he is. But now that we know he's a Knick and you watch these highlights, for me, he could dunk on people. He got scrappy with Joel Embiid. I mean, this is a guy that there's a scrappiness with Joel Embiid. He grew up, I believe, in New Jersey. He's a Yankees fan growing up. This is a guy that is connected with CAA. He has ties with Tom Thibodeau. I feel like Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are going to run the NBA this year. Am I the only one that thinks that? Like, come on, Knicks fans. I get it. On the surface, we're pissed off at first. We're upset with what's leaving, but let's think about what's coming here. This is a guy that also is not going to be the number one option, all right? The number one option on this basketball team is still Jalen Brunson. He's the number 2 option next to Jalen Brunson from an offensive standpoint. This is going to completely change the dynamic of this basketball team from an offensive standpoint of spacing. We've never had a big man that can shoot like this. We never had a big man that could put the ball on the floor and hit step-back three-pointers, post somebody up and hit a skyhook, post somebody up and back someone down low and dunk on him. I mean, this is a guy that's a 3-level scorer that is, like, at the center spot. Not to mention, I talked about this last night. I have no idea when and if Mitchell Robinson is coming back with his injury, but can we just think about a lineup real quick of Mitchell Robinson starting at center with Karl-Anthony Towns at the power forward spot? Maybe not starting, but some lineups in the closing minutes. I mean, listen, I know that there's a report saying that we have no idea when Mitch is coming back, but, like, if Mitch comes back by, the second half of the season and he's healthy for the playoffs, that's all that matters. That changes the whole dynamic. And now also, look at the Marcus Morris signing. Look at the Landry Shamet signing. Look at the Cameron Payne signing. Those signings make a lot more sense now because those guys are going to be the bench with, of course, Tyler Kolek, with Deuce McBride, with Precious Achua. We found out that Kates Diop is included in the trade, so he's no longer a Knick. All right? I mean, Jericho Sims is still on this roster. We have the rookies. We have some veterans coming in off the bench. So, I don't know, man. The more I think about this trade, the more I'm loving it. I feel like Knicks fans are going to come around on this trade more often when we start watching this Knicks team gel together. And I feel like the one thing that I know is that everybody that Leon Rose handpicks to come onto this basketball team, they fit in like a glove. And I expect that to happen right away. This is a guy that I feel like people are categorizing him as soft. I understand why. I completely get it. But boys and girls, please have patience and let's go see what this basketball player can do buying into the system of Tom Thibodeau, buying into this culture, and let's go win a freaking chip. Because you look at how the Knicks stack up against the Celtics. Like the two guys that are, the pivotal pieces of the Celtics are wing defenders and elite, scorers in Brown and Tatum. Of course, they got Drew Holiday, they got Kristaps Porzingis, but now we have our 2 elite players on offense, Brunson and Cat, and then we have 2 elite wing defenders that can match up with Tatum and Brown and Anunoby and Bridges. I see the vision, Leon Rose. I absolutely see the vision, and I really want to finish off the video with this. I've been saying it since this trade happened. I've been saying it before this trade happens. Leon Rose deserves our trust as Knicks fans. I mean, that's at least how I look at it. I think Knicks fans need to realize that Leon Rose deserves an opportunity to be proven right before we start judging him. That's how I look at it. We have a right to be upset with the departure of Dante. I know that a lot of Knicks fans are more upset with Dante than Randle, but guys, I feel like the Knicks are about to be even better this season. Am I the only one? Am I the only Knick? Am I the only one that looks at this trade and as hours goes on, the more I look at this roster, the more I realize the fit, the more I feel like the chemistry may be good, the more I feel like our offense may be really freaking good. Am I the only one that's thinking like that? Let me know in the comment section, folks. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to Knicks Media, and welcome to the New York Knicks, Karl-Anthony Towns, man. I cannot wait to see what you look like in orange and blue because I feel like it is going to be a thing of beauty this season. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's go, Knicks. As always, salute, Knicks Nation. Peace out.